All right, thank you for joining the Davis Download. Today, we're going to be talking about education. I'm going to turn it over to you guys.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think people overreact and act like it's this horrible thing, and we're failing. The school system is failing. There's teacher shortages everywhere. Blah blah blah. I think it's fine. I think it's fine. I think it's a bit of an overreaction.
Yeah, so there are a lot of teachers leaving schools, and there are a lot of people that don't want to be teachers. And we see that mainly in public schools and even in Christian education. That's a big thing. But you're saying it's not a big thing.
I don't think so. I mean, every job, every career, every field is gonna have turnover and this and that. Everyone says, "Oh, kids are worse now than they've ever been." I mean, I don't know. I think the average 14-year-old, 12-year-old is maybe they have different jokes, but everybody goes through that, right? That's maturing. It's becoming adult. So, I mean, I don't hear that. I don't really get that part. Again, I'm sure that there's probably some teachers leaving, being like, but I think that's just kind of a new era, just in careers and in the job force in general, where people don't do something for 40 years anymore. I think that's just going to be more of the natural thing. You do something for 10, 15 years, and you're like, hey, you know what, I want to try. Our attention spans are awful, so how can we expect anybody to do anything for more than 40 years? You're like, you do this, you get bored, you're like, I don't like this, I'm going to go do something else, right? Yeah. Whether it's for more money, whether it's for whatever. I mean, the schedule, you're not going to get a better career in terms of schedule. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have to disagree in that I do think, and again, I opine for something that I never was a part of, but I feel like even when I was 14 and 15, I was reckless. Well, that wasn't that long ago, so I wouldn't say the good old days.
It's
but
always the good old days.
When I was 14 and 15, like we were wild and reckless and things like that. But for the most part, adults, we had respect for people that were older than us. You know, I'm not saying it was perfect respect, but never would my parents allowed for me to go in and yell at a teacher or, you know, just honestly, I couldn't really say much to teachers, because if I said something reckless and then that got back to my mother, 100%, she was ready to take me out. So, whereas today I don't see that as much. Parents are like, don't talk to my kid.
Yeah, I agree. I think the support that the backup, I guess I should say, that school districts get from parents with discipline is non-existent, basically. I mean, if a student does do something in class these days and the teacher reports it and even documents it, the parents are questioning, why are you attacking my child?
Yeah.
Why do you have it out for my kid? And so I think that's an element of it. When I think overall, as far as education in America, if we're talking, you know, primary, secondary education, as far as public schools are concerned, one of the things that concerns me, kind of from a national level, is these school walkouts, right? These school protests.
Yep.
And which even relates to your point of the discipline. It's like, who's running these institutions, right? I think some of the administration needs to step up and say, hey, there need to be consequences when students do step out. And sure, they can express their First Amendment right to freedom of speech and to protest, and if they want to do that, that's fine. But there are consequences that come with that, and I think the administration needs to flex a little muscle in support of the teachers, in support of the families, in support of the homes, and I think that would lead to a better educational environment.
Yeah, and too, not even just behavior, but even academically. These kids come in and it's just like, well, my kid has this issue and this issue and this issue. It's compounded 50 different things. You're like, okay, so we can't do spelling, we can't do math, we can't do this because Johnny is. And again, I get it. So, some people genuinely do have issues, but I think some of it is like you're holding your kid back by saying he can never do this or that or that. And like, no. Like, I've seen some of these kids that come in with different IEPs, and I'm like, I've seen him do this same thing that you're saying he can't do.
Yeah.
And that's frustrating for teachers.
Yeah, again, there's definitely frustrations. I'm not saying it's a perfect job, but and honestly, it sounds like a lot of what you're saying is more like parental like things, right? Like, there's no backup really from the parents, and so I don't know. I think it's just kind of this new era of parenting, and that the school, like, what are you going to do if your mom and dad are like, I don't listen to the teacher? Like, there's only so much that the teacher can do at that point, right? So I don't think we're describing an education problem. I think that's the place we're seeing it because that's where they spend 8 hours every day. But I think that's more of a home and parent problem that just shows up in education.
Yeah, you're not wrong. The teachers have an impossible situation they're in. They're stuck between administration and parents, and they're put in this bind where if they do, they're condemned for doing and they're condemned for not doing.
Yeah.
And so they have this impossible situation. I think to your point, it does start in the home. I think that is significant. And even back to your point earlier, if things were handled better in the homes, you wouldn't have some of the issues that you have in the school district anyways.
Yeah, and oh man. Yeah, I don't know. What were you gonna say?
Slipped out of your head there. I think too though, a big part of why teachers are leaving, and besides behavior, is this low standard of expectations. Like, we think, well, this kid should only be able to do this. Don't give them too many homework assignments. Don't give them too many this. And it's like, well, when are they going to learn? And again, I know what you're going to come at me because I'm going back to history. But it's really interesting to read when you look at the Pilgrims and things like that. When they were here, parents were, and when I read this, I was like, this is wild. Parents would be jailed if their primary school students did not know Latin and Greek. Now, we can't get our kids to read Dr. Seuss, right? And again, I'm not saying that every parent needs to be jailed if their kid can't add or whatever. But where is the standard? Are we holding the line up here? And surely there will be kids that fall behind, and yes, help them up as best as you can. But keep the standard here. That way, the kid that doesn't really want to push himself, there's incentive there. And I think that comes from more of the school than parenting side of it.
Yeah, and I think the ultimate issue, and this is, again, kind of what makes, again, unless you want to completely individualize it, but I think that's the issue with you holding 5 million people to the same standard. I don't care what you're doing. That's just not really realistic for the most part.
What do you mean?
In terms of skills and abilities,
objectives for the course.
Yeah, it's tough to hold 5 million second graders to this same standard. It's
across the country.
Yeah, across the country. So,
and that's why I don't think education should be the way we have it,
or
federalized.
Even by state.
I'm 100% behind the abolition of the Department of Education because it should be more centralized. It should be more localized, should I say. It should be more localized. It should be your community seeing the needs of each student and raising them up. So I don't think there should be one standard from Utah all the way over to New York. But within a school district, there should be. Our goal is to read at this level. Our goal is to do math at this level. Will everyone do it? No, it's not possible, right? Some kids just aren't good at math. I wasn't good at math. I was terrible at math, but I excelled at English. I excelled in history. So the standard didn't change simply because I was bad at math. It was just hey, you got to catch up.
Yeah, I mean, and there are standards. It's not like those things don't exist. I guess it's just, what do you do when someone doesn't reach it? What is do you just keep holding them back?
Yeah, do we embrace the no child left behind? What do we do?
Yeah, that. I think that maybe that's more of what I meant to say with it. So if a kid you get done with first grade, 90% of the class can read at the level, but you got, let's say, 3 kids who can't. What do? Do you just say, okay, you repeat?
Again, I think it changes on the student, right? So you can help that kid a little bit more. I'm not saying get rid of every program that helps any kid that's fallen behind. In fact, help them as best as you can and get them as close to the standard as you can. But you don't scrap the standard just because Johnny can't read at a second grade level. Well, Johnny needs to be pushed a little bit more. I think because what happens when you lower the standard for Johnny, then everyone that was above the standard, they now have to be taught to Johnny's standard. And what does that do for the rest of the class? Now, the smart kid is getting in trouble because he is bored out of his mind because he has nothing to do. And again, I'm not saying... No, it is true, though.
But that's always such a... He's just so smart, and that's why he's causing a havoc in every single class. He's just too good for this.
No, again, I think sometimes that is used as... And I've heard parents say that, and I'm like... yeah, let me not go there. But there are some parents that say that, and it's like, well, that's not really the issue. But there are some where it's like, man, that kid could be doing, calculus and 2 grade levels where he's not at, right? So what I say is, bump him up where he is meeting standards, and where he isn't, help him be better.
Yeah, to your point earlier of the academic structures that we have in our country now, I think it should be more customizable in that sense, and I don't really get the affiliation of an age exactly with a grade. Mm-hmm. It's very perplexing to me because you have students at different levels, and because of the different backgrounds and stuff, I get it from a social standpoint, but in life, I don't just hang out with people who are my age all the time. Yeah. I hang out with people who are 3 decades ahead of me. I hang out with people who are 2 decades below me. Like it just depends on, what industry I'm in and what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So the way we set up school in a way should kind of reflect society overall. It is odd that we have all the kids in the same room just based on age when we have varying levels of performance abilities.
Yeah, I hear that. But also at the same time, like generally speaking, most 5-year-olds typically have this right? Because when you're talking about such a huge country, right? Which America is a big country in terms of population and just strictly in terms of geography, right? It's a big area. You kind of have to go by like generalizations for the most part. Like, could you imagine writing an individual education plan for every kid in this country?
But that's his
5
point.
through 12.
That's his point, is that when you nationalize it, you miss some of these important.
But even by state, so each state has to write an individual education plan for every kid. Like,
he's even here's the standard. Localize it.
Here's the standard, right? Within Pennsylvania, here's the standard of expectation for second
no,
graders.
I'm fine with that.
So it's not individual.
No, but that's just what he was saying. He was just saying more individual.
So if the standard is here, if not to speak for you, but if the standard is here, right, and Johnny doesn't meet it, Johnny needs to meet this standard before he can go to the next standard. So if Johnny is 11 instead of 10.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's disagreeing with that. I guess firstly I'm saying is what happens when he doesn't reach the standard? Like what's the consequence? What's the punishment? And then again, for the most part, like I don't really know where I was going with the second part, but we do have standards. I mean, are they maybe being lowered? Probably in some areas, but I mean, I don't know. It's not like nobody knows how to read anymore.
I'm trying to be very kind.
Don't say it.
Some people can't read.
Yeah, but that's always been the case.
And again, just being in education for a while, I'm sometimes shocked at the rate of reading or the level of reading that I find.
I hear you.
It's a lost art.
I mean, are people reading less? Yes.
No doubt.
But I think there's also a little bit of, and we do this with everybody, right? We always have these rosy colored glasses. Like I look back at the high school basketball teams, right, that are playing nowadays, and of course I look back and be like, oh, my high school team is beating them by 30.
Yeah.
But but I do that all the time for everything. So do we just think, hey, I was a way better reader, I was way better than this kid was at math in 10th grade, and we just kind of have a little bit? Is that maybe a little bit of it?
I think. Though that might be true, right? That might be some of it. I think you can go by test scores and things like that, adjusting. I just heard in California something like a 33 is now a D, and it's like that was never the case. You look at things like, I mean, I grew up in New York. We had to take Regents at the end of the year. What is the level of the Regents test? Why are they having to simplify things like SATs? You can tell. You can take metrics and see where students are from here to here.
Yeah.
So you can look back and say, man, that can't. This generation is.
There's a great book called The Coddling of the American Mind. And these two authors, I'm forgetting their names, and I might have to look them up to give them credit later on. But it's a great book on education in America. And they talk about how the academic calendar from your primary education all the way up through college has since almost the generalization of the nationalization of education in America and stuff like that, it's dwindled every year. The calendar's dwindled every year, and there's less hours, there's less school, and so I think that's an element to it where we can point to and say, okay, what's going on here as far as what's the tangible evidence to how we do have some alarming signs of what's taking place.
Yeah, I mean, I guess also maybe a little bit of this is like, do we just know? And this is going to sound kind of like oxymoronish or paradoxical, but just like, do we just know more? Like, we just have more access to this data. Like, I'm sure the average citizen didn't know what, the average reading level for the nation was in, even in the 1900s, right? 1999, even early 2000s. Probably didn't know. Now is it just, are we just seeing more? And so do we just think it's happening more just because we see it every time? You know what I'm saying? Like, is that maybe is it kind of also a byproduct of social media that because we see it here, there, and a couple more places than we did in the past, we just assume it's like prevalent and pervasive, where it's just, a school here, a district here maybe isn't doing great, but like, I don't know, we still got a ton of technology. I mean, we saw over the weekend. It's not like this country is a country of dummies and fools who can't do anything. I mean, we're still pretty at the top of the table in terms of getting things done and using our brain. So it's not like we've just totally. It's not like we replaced. It's not like there's rocks in everybody's heads either. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, again, I have no data to back this up, so you can just. There's my point right there. I'll just say that. But is it? And I'm interested to know what is this? Is there a greater divide between the smartest of Americans to the dumbest than in generations in the past? Just thinking about you talk to older people and the things that they know how to do simply because they had to. Not even just reading books, but even like sewing and gardening and stuff like that. Shop, woodworking. You go back a generation or two, and these were things that they were learning in school alongside reading and math and things like that. Today, I mean, I'll throw myself in there. Someone gave me a block of wood and was like, all right, go ahead and start building. I would be lost, right? So in some sense, you got to agree that education has lost parts of its instilling information in generations coming.
Yeah, but how much of that is still, again, kind of talking about how much of that is necessary anymore? Do we need 1 million woodworkers anymore, or do we just need 300,000? So does it not, like?
So I guess this is a different topic, but we think about cost in America. Well, if you could fix the door yourself, you don't have to pay this guy $40 an hour to fix it.
And
so again,
some smart guy made a YouTube video that shows you how to do it if you really want to.
That is true. But I think things like woodworking and mechanics takes more than a single video.
Because you're going crazy, but I think you can look up pretty much any basic household activity on YouTube and figure it out.
You probably could, and I'm not saying that, but I could find a calculus lesson on YouTube. Doesn't mean I'm a mathematician now, right?
Sure.
So I'm saying it takes a little bit more than just a single video.
Yeah, and getting to the practical, these are big questions for education, right? As a society, we have to answer them. And honestly, when I think about education and connecting it to the practical hard skills that we need, I don't really think education should be required to go through till 12th grade. It seems odd to me to have 18-year-olds hanging out with minors, 17, 16, 15-year-olds. Mm-hmm. It seems odd to me that we require everybody to go until they're 18 years old and they have all of these different credits. I think we should go, honestly, I think the requirement should be till 8th grade. Once you pass 8th grade, now you determine, am I going on a skills path? Am I going to be doing some type of apprenticeship? Or do I want to further my education? And I think that would be more beneficial in society. I think we would see more people choosing to learn, because when you're passionate about learning something, then you will actually obtain more from it. Mm-hmm. But when you're forced to do it, again, if I'm teaching a student that's 15 years old, 16 years old about world history, and all they want to do is go work with their hands and go work on cars, that student does not care about Alexander the Great. Yep. What do they care? Yep. And it really has no impact on their life. It's really not significant for them to learn about world history. They would be more productive to society, and they would be a more productive citizen, and they would better themselves just to jump into the trade earlier on.
I 100% agree with that sentiment. I think there's a lot wasted in our educational system. But if you're gonna go be a plumber, why not learn to be a plumber earlier and sharpen your skill? By the time you're 45, man, you've been doing it for however long. Now, I think education has been like idolized, and it's so great and amazing. And I say that with degrees behind me, but I don't think everybody needs a degree, especially if that degree is going to be like lesbian lizard discovery or something like that. Like, what are we doing? That was a waste of your time. And then you wonder why you got student loans that is astronomically high and you can't get a job because no one cares about the study of African roaches. Like, no one cares. You're not getting paid for that.
Yeah.
So if they were to become an electrician as opposed to this person sitting in a room with a useless degree, I think society would be better.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I agree and disagree. I love that idea of, again, if it was possible, yeah, I think it'd be great, like we were saying, like more individualistic. And obviously, you know, maybe there's 30% of the kids sitting in classrooms who's like, they're just going to go be, not just go be, but they're going to go be a mechanic or take over dad's, you know, farm business or be a plumber, electrician, right? All of those kind of more blue-collar-y type jobs, right? That's fine, but now, I don't know. I mean, when you were in 8th grade, you probably had 5 different careers mapped out in your head at that. So like, how do you balance that? Like, you might really like something in 8th grade, but then 2 or 3 years then.
But time is on your side.
Yeah, and I agree.
But then what happens? Let's say you go.
You're in 8th grade and you've been studying under plumber Joe.
Yeah.
And then you get to what would be 10th grade and you're like, I hate plumbing.
Yeah. So
you're still young enough to go and learn how to be a carpenter. You're still young enough to become.
But what if you're like, I actually don't like working with my hands? Then do you go back to school after 3 years? Like, it's hard enough to get kids back after a 3-day weekend. Now you're asking them to take 3 days off where they've been working and now come back and in the classroom?
Yeah, but the point is, again, think of the resources that are allocated to students who never really care about ancient world history, and that's fine. Or the details of science. I mean, like, for me to sit in a science class in high school for 4 years, honestly, was for the most part a waste of time. The fundamentals of science, you need them. You need to understand a hypothesis. You need to understand the scientific method. You need to understand critical thinking, that type of stuff. But for me to sit through complex classes on geology and astronomy, it's just like, this is...
Were you doing that?
It's just like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I hear it, but I also think part of the point is to see all these different areas, like, and try to figure out, hey, you know what? I do like numbers, or I do like the study of things. I do like the study.
So then, why can't the individual curtail their interest to that? And
I'm with that.
Yeah,
I'm with that. I struggle being like, hey, you're like.
So here's the thing.
8th graders be like, hey, I'm going to go be a carpenter. Peace out.
I think.
I don't know.
I think the challenge
is,
though, is you don't let the 8th grader make the decision devoid from anyone else. Correct. Right? It's just like in the past, people didn't just say, hey, you're going to become a plumber. See you later. It was like, okay, my dad was a plumber, grandpa, somebody had knowledge, and they let you do it. I was just talking to a senior a few weeks ago, and he was telling me, I want to do HVAC because I have family that do it, and I saw what they do, and I like it. Yeah. It's cool to me. What if he started that 4 years ago and started down that path? Right now, he is a really smart kid, and he's good at math and good at reading and all that stuff. But what if, like, how much better at his art could he have been starting a little earlier?
And think of the benefit that would do to the companies who, like, hey, even if it's just like having them shadow, having them even work for internship credit, or having them work for even a minimum wage or something like that. Just like having that extra body around, like, hey, can you go get the tools to make this this appointment go a little bit quicker to fix this person's HVAC system? Yeah. Yep. Like, I mean, like, I'm not saying it's a perfect system.
Yeah, but no. That's what I don't hate the idea. Like, I like that. I think it should be individualized, but I guess it's just, just figuring that out, and then who oversees that, who makes sure is the kid actually, like...
I mean, there's no lack of administration in school systems, right? Like, most of the funding is... So some of those people can get out their office and come down.
You're right, that's fine. That's a fair point. That's a fair point. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with all that. I'm for internships and all that. I'm not against that. But again, I don't know how many kids would actually be doing that.
So again, I think it's something that is not... motivated or started within the student themselves, right? Parents and whoever is going to come behind them and say, hey, I see you have these aptitudes. I see you have these desires. What do you think of this path? And you don't start that conversation, in December of their 8th grade year or whatever, if that's the marker. But I'm saying up until that, okay, I see you like this. I see you're good at this. I see you're working well with this. Have you ever thought of X?
Exactly. I would argue that happens in high school.
It should.
Agree.
But the limitations and the frustrations are, I guess, from all of us even, is the bureaucracy of it. It's like, why are people in the capital of my state, and even on a federal level, people in Washington, D.C., why are these people deciding how many credits I should have in science, how many credits I should have in math, how many credits I should have in history, when, again, the school, the locality, would be much better at determining what's best for this student. And, hey, we're going to give science credits to a kid in HVAC, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. And that would be much more efficient than him learning about rocks.
Yeah. And again, I think it does come down to that, right? We have this large and this is, I think, why the Trump administration desires to get rid of the Department of Education. It's because they're up here with all these lofty ideas while they're in their AC'd room, right? And they're talking about, well, you guys are going to do this, this, and this to be accredited. And it's like, do you realize how much more trouble this is to get this kid to sit down and do this, or to get this group of kids to understand the importance of whatever the credit is that they don't need?
Yeah, I agree. I read an article the other day that that there was a state that just passed through the legislation that they were requiring all schools now, the primary education and elementary, to teach so many hours of cursive. Now, I get it. People have the nostalgia for cursive, and they think it's great and it's awesome. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, what a waste of government time and money. And then who cares if the kid writes in print or cursive? I just want to know that it's legible.
Yeah.
Why are we legislating these things? Our politicians should be doing so much more and better with their time rather than mandating that the second grader in some small country town is writing in cursive. Who cares?
Yeah. Again, waste of money, waste of time to do simple things like that.
But they were so proud of it. The funny thing was, you're reading this article, they're bragging about it. They're like, we're bringing back, traditional education. It's like such bull crap. Like these guys.
But the good old days.
Exactly. These guys, they've never been in a classroom. They've never been in a school.
And that's part of the problem. That's part of the problem.
It's stupidity.
Look, I don't necessarily disagree. I would love for it to get a little bit more specialized. I would love for certain things like that to happen. But I do think. Right, there is a degree, like you said, why is the kid sitting in history? Well, we probably should, again, I think you guys would agree, it probably is beneficial to know who Alexander the Great is, right? It's probably beneficial to know how the world kind of came to be in, World War II, who was involved in that war, Civil War, and then also I think, and I actually thought you guys would kind of hit, right? Isn't there... Even though the kid doesn't want to be there, isn't there something about hey, in life, sometimes you just got to figure out how to do things you do not want to do? Isn't that 85% of life? honestly. So when I'd rather learn that, hey, you know what? I hate history or I hate numbers, but this is just something I have to do. And if we could, I think also part of a little bit of the issue is, we need to learn that skill. Hey, I know you're not good at this, but you have to work through it and figure it out and deal with it because that's what life is going to be too.
I hear that point, but so there will be things in whatever career path that they choose that they don't like. So they're going to learn that either way. Yeah. And then two, in terms of hey, I know you don't want to take this class, but you have to. The thing about adulting is you get to make decisions. I remember in college there were classes that I didn't like, and what did I do? I got up, went to the office, and said, I'm dropping that. What else can I take?
Yeah.
Right? Because it was of no use of me.
Yeah.
Right now, if an employer comes to me and says, hey, you're going to do X, Y, and Z, and I say, no, I'm not, eventually you say, I go somewhere else, and I go look somewhere else. So that is not a,
And that's the argument, though. The argument is, and I agree with you, the principles are there. Hey, there are some things that you have to do. There are classes you have to take. But the argument is more on the other side of it from the parents, from administrators, from legislators, which is, why are we forcing kids to do this? It should have more of a purpose if I'm having them dedicate this much time to it. It should have more of a tangible benefit for them rather than just the discipline of turning in papers and checking off boxes and doing busy work.
I mean, yeah, I agree with that. But I would also say, in general, it does work. The average American citizen knows what's up, is able to live and function and does fine. It's not like
we need to do man on the street, and we'll test the legitimacy of this because go ask the average American who's the 16th president. I don't think they can tell you.
So, But you don't want kids to take that class anyway.
But
you think that's pointless.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah, that's his point. Here's the problem. They sat through the class and they still don't know.
But they're productive members of society.
Time out.
The average person.
I mean, civically, we're talking about like in elections.
I'm talking about like
people are voting 30,
being
40%.
a productive member of society, whatever that looks like.
But what I'm saying is,
like, they have a job, they complain that they're in debt, but that's because they have credit card debt, and we talked about this last week, and they didn't buy a house yet. Whatever. But like the average person like gets along and has right, so and the average person went through K through 12 education.
I hear that point, but on the flip side of that same coin, yes, they went through it, they endured it. How much was wasted in education from the taxpayer dollar that did not need to be wasted, because now they don't know. They can't tell you anything about. I mean, I remember taking math classes and learning SOHCAHTOA. I can't even tell you what that is about anymore. You know, like it was a waste of time. Like,
PEMDAS.
Yeah, I don't none of that.
You should probably still know how to do order of operations.
But like I remember in Algebra 2 learning about imaginary numbers. Let me tell you the last time I talked about that in Algebra 2. It was a waste of time.
Look, why are they putting letters in there?
Yeah, hey, look. I hear you, right? I'm not saying the education system is perfect. Are there definitely ways it could improve? And again, all of the I hear you. And is it doing a great job of teaching the everyday basic facts? Well, maybe not, right? Maybe not. But I think overall, like the average person who graduates from high school, it's not like debt is another thing, right? I think we separate college and K through 12, right? Because one's still for the most part mandatory, right? The other, college, obviously not so much, right? It's not like people who graduate K through 12 are like don't know what is like. Don't know up from down or right from wrong. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I don't think we made that argument, but we're saying there were things that they learned that they will forget, that they did not need to take.
Well, I mean, if we go by that, then the entire school system is pointless.
What do you mean?
Like, if it's just you're going to forget things, then...
No, so you'll...
Like, if everything you forgot is just considered wasted, then, I mean, what? I don't know. I don't think that's...
So, by and large, you remember the things that you need to use within a daily life. Right, I don't need to. Now, again, I'm a little bit of a nerd, so I like history and stuff like that. So I enjoyed all those history classes. But did I really need to sit through, some of the math classes that I did in order to get that New York State Regents diploma? Like, no. Like, why did I have to take geometry? I haven't solved for a triangle since then. Why did I need to take algebra 2? Like, all these things that I did not need to take was a waste of time.
I mean, I don't know.
Like, did I learn stuff in the moment? Sure. But when was the last time I pulled out my graphing sheet and started graphing lines on the... I don't.
I mean, I guess. I don't know. When's the last time I needed to know the 14th president? So is that a waste of time then, too, learning the history of the country?
It depends on the field you're heading into. I mean, if you're heading into politics, if you're heading into a life of the social studies, then yeah, that is relevant.
Then it sounds like you guys are pro-college.
Certainly.
So for certain people, yeah.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, it just...
my point is this, okay? Education, as far as the fundamentals of it, is for everybody, right? Mm-hmm. The primary education stuff that you get, K through, I don't know if you should go K, but whatever. Let's say K through 5th or 6th grade, right? Those fundamental years. You need the basic skills, right? After that, you have your middle school set up for most states, which is typically 6th through 8th grade. Yeah. I'm saying that's kind of the surveying of the land, right? You're tasting every different thing. You're figuring out who you are, how God's made you, how He's designed you, what skills He's given you. I'm saying that after that, a lot of the stuff that you get in high school is, honestly, like you said, it's kind of like college in this sense that if you want to keep going, if you want to keep investigating into this area, I think we should start that process earlier. That's my argument. And then I think we all agree we need to get the bureaucracy out of it, because once you get that into it, you interject that money into it, then everybody starts trying to grab. Everybody starts trying to get their own positioning, to get the largest grants, to get the biggest payrolls, and it becomes the mess that it is with the teachers' unions that we have, with the walkouts that we have taking place across the country, and the teachers being left with the mess and having to try to fix it.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not saying it's perfect. It could definitely get better. I don't know. I think the way it is it perfect? No, but like I also think it does work too. I don't think it's like we have to tear the whole thing down. Can we improve it? Can we Can we?
So what would you say is improvement? What needs improvement?
I would say a little bit more like what you guys said. I mean, I don't know about, hey, 8th grade. Are you going into the workforce, or are you going to stay in high school? But I think there is a lot of like internships, and there's like, career technical types institutes. Like, it's not like those things don't happen, right? Those are options. Now, could they be maybe more available, more present, more visible? Sure, fine. I'll make that argument. Could maybe schools do a better job of pushing them? Sure. But I think like on average, for the most part, like, I don't know. I think it does work. Again, if a kid, sometimes the teacher's just not good at the thing they're teaching, and that doesn't, whatever system you have, right? So that's going to be a problem. Just like if you get a bad apprenticeship, right? If the guy you're apprenticing at the plumber shop doesn't actually know what he's doing, or is like a lazy guy, right? Sometimes that just happens. But also, again, part of life, sometimes I think, I don't know, I look at it a lot of like the life lesson portion of going to school too. And if you make a mistake in history class, it's fine. You maybe fail a history test, but again, like we said, failing doesn't even matter anymore. So you learn the lesson, right? So I think that is also a good part. You get to like, go out and do things and be in clubs and activities. And obviously I really like sports and all of these different things, which, yeah, could you say for some kids it's a waste of time? I mean, maybe, sure, you can make that argument, but I think in general, at large, like, I think it does work. That doesn't mean it can't get better, right? It doesn't mean it can't get better. Like, there's a lot of people who show up, punch the clock, do their job, and go out. They could definitely do a better job, right? But they get the job done.
This might have to be the preview for the next episode, but I don't think sports should be affiliated with school districts at all.
Oh, wow.
Oh, you're
out.
Trying to open up a can of worms.
I like the
talk about people
the European model.
School. You like people. Well, I mean, maybe that could be the next one, because that we talk about leaving kids high and dry. They definitely do that a little bit. But,
in the European model?
Yeah, if you don't
with club ball.
Yeah, what happens if you don't make the pro team?
Yeah. Don't they have like B, C, and D teams for these clubs?
Kind of, but you're living like paycheck to paycheck, and eventually
I'm saying for students, not for pros.
Yeah, I'm saying like as you're moving through, but once you eventually hit
they're paying these kids?
That I don't know, but I'm saying like once you get to you're either making the pro team or you're not.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you don't make the pro team, which again, it's still, even though you're in the academy, still only a couple per academy are making it.
Yeah.
What about the 8
It just
kids
makes from an education standpoint, it makes education so difficult when you have to construct your education model around the parameters of whatever time practices or whatever time games are or all these different complications. And it just complicates things so much more.
Yeah, again, and I think we ultimately all kind of agree, like, education definitely get better. I mean, I'm not a big tear it down type guy, because whatever system gets erected is going to be a imperfect system anyway, because humans are going to be running it. So the next time humans come up with a perfect system,
I think so, but the less hands you have into something,
and I'm fine with it. If that's part of
down.
Redoing the system, then I'm okay with that. I also don't disagree. Again, every country thrives with 5 presidents, right? And every great monarchy has 6. Like, so I agree with you, right? Ultimately, more people involved in making a decision. Like when you ask 10 people, "Hey, where are we going for dinner tonight?" You're not going anywhere, because you're never going to agree.
Yeah. So I guess in my mind, I see the problems of education from the perspective of a teacher, and being in education and hearing other people in public schools and Christian schools and all these things. And then I think of my little boy, and I think, ain't no way. Ain't no way.
Yeah.
So, like, it's more than theoretical when you say, well, there's a few bad teachers. And this is another big thing, and we talked about bureaucracy, but the ideology that some of these people are bringing into the classroom, I'm like, no way you're going to get most of my child's waking hours. Now, I get it. Not every parent can keep their kid and train them at home.
I don't even disagree with that, but that's what I consider part. When I say it, I consider all that. So being able to homeschool, I consider that part of the American education system. When there's private schools and religious affiliated type schools, like, I consider that all part of the American education system. So you're like talking about specialization. I think that to a degree, in a sense, that like if you just want to be like, I just want to teach my kid what I need, like, there is that option.
I say this is how you know there's a hole in education. The biggest thing that showed us it was COVID, right? These kids were taking their laptops home, and half of them weren't doing anything. And you start to hear what some of these teachers are saying on Zoom calls, and you're like, yo, is this really what my kid is being being trained by? Is this the person that's leading?
I don't disagree.
Whatever.
A lot of people got exposed during COVID, but also at the same time, like these teachers, like all of a sudden, hey, bang, you're doing your entire lesson that you've had mapped out.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's
So,
not hard,
like,
but
I hear that, and I definitely agree. I think COVID was a big starting point. It was like, this is what you do all day? Well, no, we're in the middle of a global pandemic where the world shut down. This is not how I normally run history class. Like, now again, I'm sure some people it wasn't much of a change, but I also think the average class, like the people who got exposed during COVID, I don't think that was like every single person.
no, I'm not saying that either.
You know what I mean?
There's definitely good teachers out there.
Yeah, I think most of your teachers are good. I think they have a good heart. I think they're trying to do the right thing. But to his point, the consequences are so major that when we're talking about indoctrination, there's no way I can let my kid for 5 days out of the week sit under a blue-haired crazy person for 40 minutes a day.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I mean, it's just the consequences are too severe for that child's soul.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. But again, like here under this education system, you can send your kid to a place where that won't happen.
Yeah.
Or you can just do it yourself in homeschool.
Yeah.
That is
Too.
very true.
So like I consider that maybe that's wrong, but I consider all those options part of our education system in America. So like specialization, like if you really want your kid, if you know, hey, I'm just gonna homeschool the kid, you're gonna take a couple classes and you're gonna go work with dad at the HVAC shop, or you're gonna go work with dad at whatever. So like you can still do that in a way.
Yeah, and again, I think there are some localities that are trying to minimize some of that. Especially, honestly, I think school choice, greatest thing ever. I know teachers unions hate it and things like that because they say, well, all the smart kids will just leave. You don't see the problem. Why would they want to leave?
Exactly.
If they're smart and they're leaving, that's probably because something is not right.
Yeah. While I was on the, I do think, again, competition is going to breed the best. So if everybody got equal, starting point, right, in terms of, a private school, if you got the same amount of funding and it was the same amount of tax dollars, if again, I'm kind of been the pro school guy, but if all factors being equal, why do you think 30-40% of your student body is going to go to a private school?
Yeah, I mean,
if you're doing what you're supposed to do, like, okay.
Yeah, the money should no doubt follow the student. It's crazy that they make these private schools and Christian school parents pay the taxes and then as well pay the flip the school bill as well. It's just insane. It's a double tax, and it is a penalty. Unfortunately, you talk about the system. Yeah. It's a penalty on those parents who choose that route, and they're just saying, "Look, we're still going to tax you. We're still going to give your property tax, take it out of your paycheck, and all that stuff." So
yeah, and things like that, I think, could be fixed. And again, you talk about that. I think that's how you individualize a bit more.
Yeah.
Right. Like again, I know it, especially if there was less kids in each school too. Again, kind of what like my point earlier. If you split up the kids and now half of the kids are going to the public school and half the kids are going to the private school, in the county or in the district, you know what you can do? Every kid gets a little bit more attention. Every kid gets a little bit more effort and thought and, hey, a little bit more visibility, just because if there's 32 kids in the classroom or 22 kids in the classroom, I'm going to get to know 22 better than I am going to know 32. Like that's just math. So I think that would help a ton with that kind of thing.
So it sounds like we agree. Close down this. No. Yeah, that wraps it up for us here at the Davis Download. Thank you for joining in. We'd like to see you next week.
Well, that was